Okay everybody, I'm posting this video for people that are having a nightmare with WJ Jeep Grand Cherokee. As you can see, I have my ignition, the key is out, but I was having a nightmare as far as taking the key out. I would put the key in and the key would not come out. So my first thought was, this is a common problem. This is an ignition actuator. It's a very complex doohickey that has tiny little parts, but usually when the ignition on 99 through 2004 WJs fail, this little piece of plastic jams or breaks, and it gives you the same symptoms as I had, as far as not being able to get your key out, or the key will come out while you're driving, etc. So this piece is about 70 to 100 bucks at salvage yards. The back of the ignition keys into that, or locks into that mechanism. So that was my first impulse, to think that that's what it is, but lo and behold, it had nothing to do with that. So I did the second thing. I looked online, I talked to a couple mechanics, and they said that, sorry, the shocks on this thing are shot. They said another common problem is the shifter assembly. So here is a picture of the shifter assembly that I got from a salvage yard. I apologize for jerking the camera around, but I'm doing this on the fly. And you can see all the shift linkage in there, etc. And my first thought was that this linkage was shot because, bear with me, I would fool with the four-wheel drive transfer case shifter here. I would fool with this, and sometimes the key would come out, sometimes it wouldn't. So I took this all apart, and the previous owner, because I just bought this car, had spilled a whole bunch of crap in here, and it was disgusting, and it was all gummed up, and these sliders were jammed. So I cleaned that, put it all back together, and it still wouldn't work. So I was thinking, damn, you know, this whole shift assembly needs to be replaced. Not the truth. Not to be, was not true. This little son of a bitch right here, I'm going to point my finger at it so you can see it. This is an actuator that links to your drive shifter, the one that puts it in drive or low, not the transfer case shifter. And as you can see, I'm going to try. I disconnected this linkage. It goes into this little blue lever. And when you actuate this button to put it in drive from park, once you put your foot on the brake and all that, it permits you to, you know, drive forward. But when you put it back in park, this thing wasn't collapsing all the way down. This rod or piston that goes back into this actuator wasn't going all the way. There's a cable that goes all the way under, and I'm going to move it with my hand right now, right here, and it goes all the way to this little actuator that lets you take your key in and out. I don't know if you can see it because I can't get my head under there to film, so I'm just going to point my finger at it. But this is the cable, and it connects to this. And all I had to do was disconnect this piston, or the male part that goes back into the female sleeve, which unlocks the key. So I did a lot of unnecessary disassembly, as you can see, but luckily I had the instincts, because I just didn't feel that the symptoms of my key not coming out of the ignition matched the description. So sometimes when you take stuff apart, and you have to have you have to kind of pull yourself out of what you're doing for a minute and think, because if you don't, you start taking apart all kinds of unnecessary things and buying stuff. And this was a this was a big headache, because I was going places and I couldn't get my key out. Sometimes it would come out, sometimes it wouldn't. I was thinking about lubricating the piston that goes in here, which lets you take your key out of the ignition when you're parked, when you've reached your destination. But it was so easy to pull it out, and I've tested it several times now. I don't want to risk lubricating it and then get back to the same thing, and then I got to take out the entire shift, center console, etc. So I just disconnected it. I've tested it several times and it works flawlessly now. And this part you cannot replace because it comes with this entire shift assembly. Well, I'm not 100% sure you can, but it's riveted into the base of this steel plate. So if you were to replace that from the dealer, which I don't even know if it's possible, would be an absolute nightmare. As you can see, all the bolts that you would have to disassemble. I'm pointing here with my finger so you guys can see. There's a bolt here, here, underneath here. Nightmare. So I don't even know if that's possible. So I didn't want to do all that. So I just disconnected the piston shaft once again from this unit, and I'm good to go. I hope this helps you guys. It was giving me a nightmare. I couldn't drive this car or this Jeep because worrying that I'd get to the supermarket or the mall or wherever the heck I was going, and I wouldn't be able to disconnect my key, making it vulnerable to theft. Anyway, guys, I'm going to post this immediately. Hope it helps you, and leave me a thumbs up if you like it, and you guys take care.